Friend Mom's Secret Longing That Led to Heartbreak. Part 1. The beginning, I never expected her to remember my name, let alone everything else. Most evenings I stopped by the small laundromat near my apartment. Not because I loved the place, but because it stayed open late and no one asked questions. Machines humming, fluorescent lights buzzing, that faint detergent smell that never quite leaves your clothes. It was predictable, quiet, safe. That's where she usually was too. At first she was just Hassan's mom, the woman who'd drop him off years ago when we had exam group sessions. Always polite, always slightly distant. I hadn't seen her in a while until one Tuesday night when she was folding towels across from me, sleeves rolled neatly, movements slow like she wasn't in any hurry to leave. "You're Waka's, right?" she'd said without looking up. I remember nodding too fast. Yeah. She smiled, small but certain. "You still overfill the machines. Some habits stay." It wasn't teasing exactly, just observation. But I laughed anyway. After that, we kept landing there around the same time. Not planned, at least I don't think so. Just overlap. Same amount of dryers, same quiet nods, sometimes a few words about nothing important. "Long day?" she asked once. "A bit." She nodded like that explained everything. And weirdly, it kind of did. I didn't realize how much I'd started noticing until small things began sticking. How she folded shirts carefully along the seams. How she sometimes paused mid-task like she'd forgotten why she came. Her hands were steady but thoughtful. I caught myself glancing at them more than once, then quickly pretending to check my phone. I wasn't exactly surrounded by people those days. Messages sat half-typed in my chat window. A few "you good" texts I never sent. Nights stretched longer than they used to. Routine helps with that. Machines, timers, predictable cycles. People less so. One night, the vending machine ate my coins. I muttered something under my breath, probably louder than intended. She slid her thermos toward me. "Tea, no sugar. I remember you didn't like it sweet." I blinked. That was years ago. Still counts. I folded a napkin into a tight square while drinking, mostly to keep my hands busy. The tea was warm, slightly bitter. Familiar in a way I hadn't expected. "You live nearby?" she asked. "Yeah, small place. Quiet." "Quiet can be heavy," she said, almost to herself. I didn't answer. Didn't know how. Silence settled, but not awkward exactly. Just full. The dryers clicked, someone's phone rang across the room, then stopped. She kept looking at the spinning glass door of her washer, like something important might appear inside. Before leaving, she said, "Hassan moved out last month. Job in Lahore." Oh, I wasn't sure why that felt significant. He doesn't come by much now. A pause. House feels bigger than it is. That was all. Since then, conversations got a little longer. Nothing dramatic. Weather. Groceries. The fact that the laundromat clock ran 3 minutes fast. Once she laughed at something I said. Not loudly, just a quick breathy sound, and I caught myself replaying it later while brushing my teeth. Which was new. Last night felt normal too. Same machines, same tea thermos, same quiet pauses. When I left, she just said, "Take care, okay?" Soft, almost like a habit. I thought that was it. But when I got home, phone buzzing on the counter, there was a message from an unknown number. "It's me. Hassan's mom. I hope it's okay. I found your number. Would you mind coming by tomorrow evening? There's something I'd rather not say at the laundromat." I stared at it longer than necessary, thumb hovering, napkin still folded tight in my other hand. I still haven't decided what that message actually meant. Friend Mom's Secret Longing That Led to Heartbreak. Part 2. Expanding the conflict, I almost didn't go. Her message sat there all afternoon, read and reread until the words started looking unfamiliar. I told myself it was probably something simple, maybe help moving furniture, maybe something about Hassan. Logical reasons. Safe reasons. Still, I showed up 10 minutes late. Not deliberately. Just hesitation disguised as poor timing. Her house looked the same as years ago. Pale gate, bougainvilleas spilling over one side. Porch light already on even though it wasn't fully dark yet. She opened the door before I knocked twice. "Hi," she said, like we'd planned this for weeks. There was a small pause where neither of us moved. Then she stepped aside. "Come in." I made tea. Habit, I guess. The living room felt larger than I remembered. Or maybe emptier. Essan's gaming console gone, fewer cushions, a faint echo when she set the cups down. She noticed me noticing. He took most of his clutter, she said. Good for him, I suppose. You sound proud. I am. A beat. And adjusting. We sat opposite each other at first. Tea between us, steam rising slowly. She asked about work, I asked about her day. Ordinary things, but softer than laundromat talk. Like the house absorbed sound differently. At one point she said, almost casually, his father and I finalized the divorce last winter. I didn't know that. Essan never mentioned it. Oh, I said again, apparently my vocabulary shrinking around her. It wasn't dramatic, she added. Just quiet distance that stretched too long. She smiled after saying it, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. I looked down at my cup, so she wouldn't catch me studying that. Silence sat with us for a minute. Not uncomfortable, just full of things neither of us seemed ready to phrase. You must think this is strange, she said eventually. Inviting my son's friend over like this. I thought about it, I admit it, and I still came. That earned a small laugh. Brief, warm, the kind that makes you straighten a little without realizing. We moved to the kitchen after she needed help reaching a high shelf. Simple task. 2 stools, some careful balancing. At one point our hands brushed when passing a jar. Neither of us pulled away instantly, but neither lingered either. Just that half-second pause. I kept telling myself it meant nothing. People touch all the time. Normal. Still, my mind wandered what Essan would think, whether neighbors noticed, whether this was kindness or something more complicated. I didn't let those thoughts finish. Some questions feel safer unfinished. Back in the living room, we didn't rush conversation. She sat a little closer this time, not deliberate enough to call out. Close enough that I could smell the same detergent from the laundromat on her sweater. Quiet suits you, she said suddenly. What do you mean? You listen more than you speak. Most people rush to fill space. I shrugged. Space isn't always bad. No, she said softly. Sometimes it's where you finally hear yourself. Another pause. Longer this time. When I got up to leave, she walked me to the door. Expected. Polite. But before I stepped out, she adjusted my collar lightly. Nothing dramatic, just smoothing a fold that probably didn't matter. There, she said. Better. Her hand stayed a second longer than necessary. Not gripping. Just resting. I didn't comment. Neither did she. And honestly, I don't know why that moment stayed with me. Maybe because it felt like someone finally saw me. Friend Mom's secret longing that led to heartbreak. Part 3. The emotional conflict unfolds after that night. The laundromat stopped feeling neutral. Not uncomfortable. Just charged. Like the air held onto whatever had passed between us at her door. We still met there. Same time mostly, same quiet routines. But conversations came in shorter bursts now. More pauses. Longer looks neither of us fully acknowledged. She brought tea again. Same thermos. Same no sugar. You didn't have to, I said. I know. That was it. No explanation. I caught myself imagining things too easily. What another visit to her house would feel like, whether that collar-straightening moment had meant what it seemed to mean. Then I'd shut the thought down. Too complicated. Too many lines you don't casually step over. Also, she was still Essan's mom. That fact hovered in the background like a low hum you eventually notice if the room gets quiet enough. One evening, as I was loading clothes, my phone buzzed. Essan, rare these days. Bro, random question. You ever run into my mom lately? She mentioned the laundromat. I stared at the screen longer than needed. Typed yes sometimes, deleted it. Typed not really, deleted that too. Settled on, once or twice. Why? He replied with a thumbs up. Nothing else. Harmless. Probably. Still, something tightened in my chest. Not guilt exactly. Just awareness. When I looked up, she was watching me. Everything okay? Yeah. Just Essan checking in. Her smile flickered quick, controlled. Good. He worries more than he admits. We didn't talk much after that. Machines filled the silence for us. Rhythmic. Safe. But routines shifted. She started coming earlier some days. Or later. Sometimes not at all. I told myself schedules change. Adults have lives. Still, I noticed. One night, Rain pinned everyone indoors. The laundromat got crowded, damp umbrellas everywhere, that thick wet fabric smell. She arrived late, hair slightly damp, sweater sleeves pushed higher than usual. "No free machines," she murmured. "Mine's almost done," I said. "You can take it. You don't have to rush." "I'm not." We ended up sitting side by side while the last cycle ran. Not talking much, just watching the seconds tick down on the digital timer. Her knee brushed mine once when someone squeezed past. Neither of us shifted away immediately. Just that small contact. Warm. Temporary. "I should probably keep some distance," she said suddenly, voice low enough the dryers almost swallowed it. From me. A nod. Barely there. Because of Hassan. Among other things. I wanted to ask what the other things were. Didn't. Questions sometimes push people where they're not ready to go. The timer beeped. Loud. Abrupt. Neither of us moved right away. When we finally stood, there was that awkward half-step dance, reaching for the same laundry basket. Our hands met. Stayed. A second too long to call accidental. She looked up then. Direct. No polite softness this time. Something more uncertain. More open. For a moment I thought she might say something. Or I might. Instead, she exhaled slowly. Didn't pull away. And somehow we ended up closer than before. Not quite an embrace, not quite distance. Her face angled slightly upward. Mine tilted down without conscious permission. Close enough to notice the faint crease at the corner of her eye. Close enough that if either of us leaned just a little more. But neither did. Just stood there, hovering in that almost space. Like both of us were waiting for a signal that never came. Friend Mom's secret longing that led to heartbreak. Part 4. Nearing the climax, we didn't mention the almost moment at the laundromat. Not directly, but something in how we spoke after that felt thinner. Like a careful distance had slipped in without agreement. A week passed where I barely saw her. Different laundry times, I guessed. Or maybe deliberate. I told myself not to overthink it. Failed mostly. Then one evening she texted, "Walk. Just outside the park. Not long. No emoji. No extra words. Very her. The park wasn't crowded. Late enough that families had left. Early enough that the night crowd hadn't taken over. Streetlights humming. Dry leaves scraping along the pavement. She was already there when I arrived, hands tucked into her cardigan pockets. "Hi," she said. "Hey." We started walking without deciding to. Slow pace. Matching steps without discussing it. For a while we stuck to safe topics. Weather shifting colder, grocery prices, how the laundromat finally fixed that broken dryer. Ordinary conversation doing its usual job. Keeping deeper things just out of reach. Then she asked, "Have you been seeing someone?" Casual tone. Too casual. "No." A pause stretched. "I added you." She shook her head. Looked straight ahead. "Good," she said quietly, then corrected herself. "I mean, not good. Just easier." That word hung there. Easier for what? For whom? I didn't ask, but something tightened in my chest, a flicker of jealousy I didn't expect, followed immediately by guilt for feeling it at all. She wasn't mine to be jealous about. Never was. We reached a bench and sat. Not too close. Not far either. The kind of distance you can close accidentally. "I keep thinking I should stop this," she said. These conversations. Time together. Whatever this counts as. I nodded, though I wasn't sure I agreed. "Because of Hassan?" I asked again. Partly. A breath. Partly because I don't trust myself lately. That landed heavier than anything she'd said before. She wasn't crying. Wasn't dramatic. Just honest in that quiet way she had. Walls lowering one brick at a time. "You're kind," she continued. "You listen. And sometimes I forget you're not, well, not someone I'm supposed to lean on like this." I don't mind. That's the problem. Silence again. A long one. Cars passing somewhere beyond the trees. Someone laughing faintly in the distance. "I was very lonely after the divorce," she said finally. "Still am some days. And when someone sees you during that, it's easy to mistake comfort for something else." I didn't respond right away. My hands stayed folded together, thumbs tracing small circles without realizing. A grounding habit. And what if it isn't a mistake? I asked, softer than intended. She turned then, really looked at me. No polite filtering. That's exactly what scares me. Another pause. Heavier this time. I could feel the conversation edging somewhere irreversible. A line close enough to touch. Her shoulder brushed mine when she shifted, neither of us correcting it. If we keep doing this, she started, then stopped. If we stop, I offered. She didn't answer. Just watched me, expression open in a way I hadn't seen before. Hopeful, worried, tired all at once. Her lips parted slightly, like she might say something else, or ask something. And sitting there, shoulder against shoulder, I realized there was really only one question left between us. Neither of us had said it yet. Friend Mom's secret longing that led to heartbreak. Part 5. The twist after that night on the bench. I expected something. Not necessarily a confession. Not even clarity. Just continuation. The same quiet rhythm we'd built. Laundromat overlaps, small texts, tea poured without asking. Something steady. Instead, she disappeared. Not dramatically. No goodbye speech, no visible fallout. Just absence in places she'd started to belong. Different laundry times again. Then no laundry times at all. Her number went silent except for one brief reply to a neutral check-in. Busy these days. Take care. Polite. Final sounding without actually being final. At first I told myself it was temporary. People get overwhelmed. Life crowds in. Still, each evening I caught myself glancing at the laundromat door longer than necessary. Waiting without admitting I was waiting. Routine turned hollow. Cold coffee sat untouched beside me some nights. Messages typed erased. That familiar habit returning. Unsent words stacking quietly somewhere unseen. Then Ehsan called. Not text. Actual call. Hey man, he said. Random again. You haven't been helping my mom with stuff lately, right? The question landed oddly. Not accusatory. Just cautious. No, haven't seen her much. A pause on his end. She mentioned maybe moving. Smaller place. Closer to my aunt. Moving. I repeated. Yeah, didn't she tell you? No. Another silence. Slightly uncomfortable this time. Well, guess she's still deciding, he said, voice lighter than the conversation felt. Anyway, just checking in. We hung up. I sat there a while, phone still in hand, that word echoing, moving. It explained things, and somehow explained nothing. A few days later I did see her. Briefly. Outside a pharmacy. She was with another man, older than me, maybe her age. Nothing obviously romantic. Just proximity. Shared conversation. Familiarity. She saw me. Hesitated. Gave a small wave. I waved back. Didn't approach. Didn't trust my expression to stay neutral enough. That moment lingered longer than it should have. Not quite jealousy. Not quite relief either. Just displacement. Like I'd step into a scene that no longer had space for me. That night, I opened our chat window. Typed, "Are you okay?" Heard you might move. Stopped. Deleted it. Typed again, "If I crossed a line, I'm sorry." Deleted that too. Because honestly, I didn't know if I had. Or if she had. Or if lines had simply blurred without either of us noticing. The laundromat felt different after that. Same machines, same humming lights. But one seat, the one she usually took near the folding table, stayed empty. I caught myself avoiding it, like sitting there might confirm something I wasn't ready to name. Weeks passed. No dramatic heartbreak. No closure speech. Just this suspended feeling. And that's the strange part. I didn't feel heartbroken. I felt paused. Like life forgot to finish the sentence. Friend Mom's secret longing that led to heartbreak. Part 6. The climax. I didn't plan to go to her house. Not really. But one evening, after another pointless lap around the laundromat parking lot, another glance at that empty folding seat, my feet sort of decided for me. Familiar streets. Familiargate. Bougainvillea still spilling over, though trimmed back now. The porch light was on again. For a minute, I just stood there, hands in my jacket pockets, rehearsing nothing useful. You can't script conversations that have already grown complicated in silence. I almost left. Then the door opened. She must have seen me through the curtain. "Oh," she said softly. No surprise exactly. More like confirmation. E. A pause. That same old pause that somehow carried weeks inside it. "Come in," she offered. The living room looked barer than before. A few boxes stacked near the wall. So Esan hadn't exaggerated. "You're moving," I said. "Most likely. Smaller place. Closer to family." She shrugged lightly. "Feels practical." Practical. Another word doing heavy lifting. We ended up in the kitchen. Neutral ground. She poured water instead of tea this time. Small change, but noticeable. I didn't know whether to say goodbye properly, she admitted, or just let things fade. I noticed the fading part. A faint smile at that. Brief. Careful. Silence stretched. Not hostile. Just honest. I kept thinking I crossed some line. I said finally. Or made you uncomfortable. You didn't. She leaned against the counter, arms loosely folded. That's actually what scared me. Because it was comfortable. And odd. And because comfort can turn into dependency if you're not careful. Especially after everything. She gestured vaguely. Divorce, loneliness, the house that got too quiet. I watched her hands while she spoke. Same steady hands. Same thoughtful movements. I didn't want you carrying something that wasn't yours, she continued. Or me pretending it was simple when it isn't. Age. Esan. Life stages, all of it. Fair points. Obvious points. Still heavier when spoken aloud. But I did miss you, she added quickly, like the truth slipped out before she could soften it. That landed somewhere deep. Not dramatic. Just real. Me too, I said. No grand declaration. Just fact. Another pause. Longer, but gentler now. I don't know what this is supposed to be, she said. Friendship. Almost something. A lesson in timing. Maybe just something we experienced honestly, I offered. She considered that, then nodded slowly. Okay. Such a small word. But it settled something. Not resolution exactly. More like acceptance. The kind adults reach when they know neat endings rarely happen. When I got up to leave, she walked me to the door again. Familiar choreography. This time, no collar adjustment. No accidental linearing. Just before I stepped out, her hand touched my forearm lightly. Brief. Grounded. Take care of yourself, she said. You too. We shared a small smile. Not hopeful, not sad. Just human. And, somehow, that was enough for that moment. Friend Mom's secret longing that led to heartbreak. Part 7. The conclusion time didn't fix things all at once. It just kept moving until the sharp edges softened. She did move. Smaller apartment, closer to her sister. Different neighborhood, different laundromat. For a while, we only exchanged short texts. Birthdays. Occasional, hope you're okay. Nothing heavy. Nothing that reopened the old, almost. It was easier that way. Or at least steadier. Then one Saturday morning, months later, she sent a message. There's a cafe near my new place. Quiet. 8:47 a.m. Works for you. That oddly specific time made me smile. She always liked exactness, like it gave emotions a boundary. I went. The cafe wasn't fancy. Just soft music, sunlight hitting one corner table, that low murmur of people not in a rush. She was already there, black coffee in front of her, second cup waiting across the table. For you, she said. Still no sugar, right? Still counts, I replied, echoing her old line. That earned the same breathy laugh I remembered. Conversation came easier this time. Not forced. Not tiptoeing either. We talked about practical things, her new job hours, my projects, how Esan finally visited and approved of the apartment. Normal life stuff. Grounding. But underneath it, something calmer had formed. Less urgency. Less fear of misstepping. We started meeting like that occasionally. Morning coffee instead of late-night laundromats. Public places first. Then sometimes walks. Once, eventually, tea at her place again, not charged like before. Just lived in comfort. No dramatic moment where we decided anything. It happened gradually. Shared groceries. Helping assemble a bookshelf. A text when one of us had a rough day. Small consistencies stacking up. The bench in that park became a quiet checkpoint, too. We passed it one evening months later. Neither of us sat immediately. Then she nudged my arm. Funny how serious we were here, she said. Yeah. We thought everything had to be decided right then. And now, she shrugged lightly. Now it's just life. That felt accurate. Being with her didn't erase loneliness entirely. Life doesn't work like that. But it softened it. made it less echoey. And she said something similar once. That quiet companionship, even imperfect, beats impressive solitude. Some mornings I still notice her hands around a mug before I notice the mug itself. Some habits stick. She still reminds me when my collar folds awkwardly. I still pretend I hadn't noticed. Nothing cinematic about it. Nova Abuelins. Just routines that feel warmer shared. Last week, at exactly 8:47 a.m., she slid my tea across the table without looking up from her phone. See, she said, consistency or stubbornness. Same thing sometimes. We both smiled. And sitting there, sunlight hitting that same corner table, I realized the story never really had a dramatic ending. Just a quiet continuation neither of us would have predicted back at that laundromat. Sometimes, when she hands me tea exactly how I like it, we exchange this small glance. No explanation. No need. Just something only we understand.